Welcome back to Celtic Exchange Weekly. This is Tino. This week I'm joined by James and Paddy as we once again cover all things Celtic. Paddy, before I forget to say so, this week's episode is sponsored by NordVPN, and I'll provide a bit more info on that later on and an offer for our listeners. But for now, Paddy, Celtic back in action, a 1-0 win over St Mirren, Flag Day at Celtic Park. Your main takeaways from the game?
Yeah, as you say, Flag Day, big day for the fans, back after a long summer. Think needed at the beginning. Just a little bit of a break from it all. We should be excited. We should be looking forward to it. Pitch was looking brilliant. New dugouts, according to the Twitter sphere. Everyone should be excited to coming back and seeing what Celtic have on offer, and it threw up a few bits of discussion for tonight's show, I think.
Maybe more questions than answers.
Yeah, I would say so.
James, we were chatting just before we came on there. So myself and Brido done the post-match, and that's available right now on Patreon to all our members. But we had a good chat about things, went over the calls of the game and the day in itself and the general situation. And Brido then put a comment in the chat just this afternoon saying, kind of what Paddy was saying just there, this should be a real time of excitement. First game of the new season, Europe to look forward to at a time when you bring in new players, new stars to enjoy. And Celtic are, it's in Celtic's gift to control that situation. And I don't feel excited, I don't feel buzzed up, and I don't think you lads do either.
No, I mean, I'm trying to maintain some perspective on it in the grand scheme of things.
Get it all out,
right?
Let it go.
I mean, like, to see the inverse and see the positive. If Sunday's 3 points are the 3 points that take the title from second place Hearts,
Tony Bloom's Hearts. More on that later.
I'm going to dig into that. It's about 90-minute chat apparently from last night.
I won't be watching that, but we'll have a brief chat.
I gather go to this one's a bit clumsy, but I think that'll be interesting to hear what he's got to say anyway. But if that's the 3 points it gets, then you point back to that and say, what you're wondering about, right? But Celtic do create situations of their own making that are wholly unnecessary, whether it's rumours of Green Brigade bans, the complete lack of activity. You've obviously pissed off Rodgers to the point where he's had to come out and get the shotguns out on Friday night on Sky Sports. So why do you do it? What is the strategy? Just make it make sense.
It just doesn't need to be this way. But we can kid on about it, and it does feel like we've kind of repeated ourselves a wee bit in the last few weeks. We're going to change it up a bit today, Paddy. We're not going to go over all the same gripes as such, but they're legitimate gripes, and as agreed there, this is all of our own making. And it just doesn't have to be this way. That's the bottom line.
It really doesn't. There's a real malaise at the moment in terms of just where we're sitting at as a fan base, what we're expecting, what the end product is, what our board are asking for us to pay every season. What are we getting back for it? And listen, there could be fans from other clubs listening to this show. I doubt it. There could be fans that are maybe of the opinion of what fans went through in the 90s. We do sound in a sense that we're spoiled, but domestically Celtic should be winning the league. On paper, we should be doing it. Now we're ticking that box. We are going into a season where we could possibly hit 5 in a row, which is incredible. But that's the minimum. It's got to be the minimum. European growth is something that we have wanted for such a long time, and that hunger, that desire to even attempt to try and get that just does not seem to be there at all. And I think when you look at the season, when you look at the fact that, there's how many weeks left in the transfer window? Three and a bit weeks. We've actually only got a week and a bit before the squad registration closes for the Champions League, which is such an important game, and we're kind of just gambling with it. Mm-hmm. It's almost expecting that this squad is enough to go and do it. We've lost 2 really, really strong players, and I would say in terms of Greg Taylor being a squad player, but we've lost Nicholson. We are in the process of still relying on James Forrest coming on to change a game for Celtic.
Yeah,
that's incredible, and nothing against James Forrest. Fair play to him. Yeah. Thought he was the only one with a brain yesterday when it came to the final third of that game. And then you're also looking at, they were unfortunate with obviously what happened with Jota, but that Jota injury happened how long ago?
Yeah,
I know. Plenty of time to plan for that.
Plenty of time to plan for Nicholas Kuhn. Plenty of time to plan for the Jota injury. And plenty of time to make sure that we've got a number 1 striker in as well. It's very poor.
You set up that game on Saturday with Jota, Kyogo, Kuhn. Right? You take those 3 players out, it's, Stevie Robinson always sets up well, don't get me wrong.
It does. It does.
When you've got class like those 3 players had in their boots, that's the game changers that we didn't really have on Sunday.
We lacked a spark.
Yeah.
You know, we lacked
all three of them give you spark.
100%. You've got a situation, you know, the Celtic board are often accused of being like, you know, risk averse and conservative, small C, maybe big C. But you've got a situation where we're now gambling on a £40 million jackpot. That's the bigger risk. The bigger risk is to do what we're currently doing. Why not embed these players, get them in early, do business like other clubs do? I don't understand it, and it's now, I've said we'll not repeat some of the stuff from the last few weeks, but it has become a pattern of our own making, and it's wholly concerning. A couple of things, I don't want to dwell too much in the game itself. As I say, I covered it with Bridal, half an hour show available on the Patreon, but there's a situation where you finish the game with your centre half at left back and Liam Scales, and Liam Scales had a good game. A bit interesting that Liam Scales was probably our man of the match against St Mirren, or certainly for some folks. My man Yang is killing me. He's killing me.
No respect for your opinions.
It looks like he's not been listening.
No.
It looks like it's done. I suggested that yesterday's performance was a player with one, if not both feet out the door. He just didn't. People can debate that he's never looked up for it. I think he has at times, but he offered nothing. And actually, it was in stark contrast to what James Forrest offered when he came in. There was some other puzzling things, James. No appearance for Yamada when it just seemed like an easy thing to do. Throw him in.
Get some minutes in his boots.
Is that a statement?
Maybe you've signed me this guy. Inamura wasn't even in the squad.
No,
I thought that was maybe a bit statementy.
And that was quite
I've no
telling.
cover.
So you're left, but we knew Kieran Tierney was going to struggle to all of a sudden start playing 90 minutes from not having done it for a long time. So have your current backup left back, which is Inamura, on the bench. He wasn't. Inamura doesn't play. Dane Murray features all throughout pre-season, does pretty well. Nowhere near it. Just a lot of puzzling things going on.
Yeah, but with that as well, to create that tight bench, you've got three midfielders. I mean, are Bernardo, McCowan and Engels all going to get minutes in that game?
Well,
Unlikely, isn't it?
We've seen they didn't. Bernardo
Aye.
obviously didn't feature.
But you could have forecast that. Unless McGregor's going to get an injury, that's just not going to happen. So I don't know, maybe Rodgers being a wee bit cute there, because that just didn't seem to make sense. There's part of maybe keeping Bernardo interested and you're still part of the plans, and I'm keen to see that for now, but at some point something's got to give there in terms of that midfield rotation. One of them is going to have to not be on the bench if we sign a couple of decent players in the coming weeks, players dropping out and stuff.
If we get the forwards that the manager keeps banging on about, then something's got to give there. And I suppose quickly from Bernardo's point of view, Paddy, match day one, sub not used. It's not great, is it?
You'd be going to your agent.
It's not promising. I don't think it's as I say, I think there's been a bit of a statement from Rodgers yesterday. I don't think it's the end of the road for Paulo Bernardo. No chance. As I say this quite a lot on this show, it's a long season. We're going to require our midfield, and I think that where Paulo Bernardo fits into that is when the injuries start happening, or we're playing 2 games a week. He's got a point to prove. He needs to get into the team. But he also needs to earn that place as well. It's been 2 stop-start from Bernardo since he's been at Celtic. I think we've seen glimpses, but we've also seen some absolute howler performances as well. But the thing for me, and the question you would ask, and this is again no offence to Luke McCowan, and well done on getting the goal yesterday, is that he is, I think you nailed it a couple of weeks ago, Jim, when you said he is the sub.
Impact player.
He's the impact player. Bernardo should be ahead of him, and he's the one that's not came on.
But who makes more impact?
No, absolutely. But what I'm saying is that, like, if we're looking at this rotation of the starting 11, you should have, out of that 6 midfielders that we're talking about, 5 should be knocking the door. Out of that 6, I don't think Luke McCowan is going to be a Celtic starter. I really don't think he will.
And again, something that me and Bridal covered, some guys are starters and some guys aren't. And Luke McCowan wouldn't thank me for saying so, but credit to him for frequently having an impact on games when he comes off the bench, and he done so yesterday, and it's the goal that gets us the win. We'll move on from the on-field stuff. Obviously, pre-match there was a lot going on. Paul McStay bringing out the trophy. What a roar. Absolutely incredible. Just a Celtic hero, down the ages, and that will remain the case. Brilliant to see him get such a good reception. And obviously fitting tributes to John Clark and John Fallon. Some real classy banners on show, Paddy.
They got there in the end with it.
Wind was playing a wee part.
It was playing havoc, but no, it was a fitting tribute from both set of ultra fans, but then using the stands behind the goals as well. It was really nice to see. And then obviously with John Fallon, he never features in the game, but he's part of that squad, and he was I'm sure he was a massive motivator to the 11 that were on the park. and a nice touching tribute to him as well from the Green Brigade and the North Curve section. I loved the video before it. There was a brilliant shot of John Clark that they got from behind him in the tunnel, and it was just when the fans were coming at the end to walk on, and it almost just felt like he was there. It was excellent. It was really, really well done, and just a befitting tribute to both men.
Yeah, it was nicely done. James, there was a question, I think it was from Robert McEwen in the Patreon, and he was asking, and I don't know my own take on this, if the club should at some point after the game yesterday across the socials be displaying those banners and saying brilliant stuff by your fans or something like that, just kind of a nod towards the effort there. But I think they're kind of damned if they do, damned if they don't. If they do say, oh, look at this great display, it's like, oh, you're trying to piggyback on what we do. And if they don't mention it, which they haven't so far, to my knowledge, they get caned anyway. What do you think? At the moment, there is no doubt, I'm fed up hearing myself say the word disconnect, but there is a disconnect between the club and the fans. And in certain sections of the fans, you could say primarily, as with the Green Brigade and the boys in the sections there, but by extension, the wider fan base feel that disconnection. And whether it's something warmer on social or whatever, maybe there's stuff to be done there to try and repair relations.
Far be it from me to be a board apologist, but I kind of see the point in that when they'll have a blanket ban on anything like that.
Why?
I think the banners, of course, and Sunday were absolutely spot on, and for my money, they typically are, but they're edgy. So sometimes there might be something on a banner that the media guy's not quite picked up on. That goes out on social. Celtic support this, blah, 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 whatever it may be. Celtic will have just said blanket ban on that and keep it comfy.
That'd be a foolish approach to take.
Don't be surprised.
I don't expect them to come out. There's one that's a big red circle with a line through it over Michael Nicholson. I don't expect them to come out and say, look at that creativity. But I think there's maybe an open goal with the John Clark and John Fallon tributes, classy as they were. That might be a time to show a wee bit of a united front and say, look what our fan base are capable of.
I don't think they're shy in terms of, using it to their own ability though. If you remember right, when we had the full stadium tifo against Barcelona, that was in selling the shop the next day on a nice frame for 125 quid. You know what I mean? So they're very quick on the mark of that.
As it should be. Not for that price, perhaps, but they should be.
You're not part of the marketing team that put that out.
I couldn't comment on that. I need to check my calendar.
I backed that one.
I was definitely there at that time, but they should be going big on all the positive things, but because the waters are muddied in terms of the relationship between club and fans, they don't know whether to stick or twist, and we don't know whether we want them to stick or twist. It's just a messy situation.
And again, it stems back to what we've said countless times in this show as well. We need someone maybe just to come out and try and offer that olive branch. Not Peter Lawwell under the Neil Lennon season, just a bit of here's the direction of the club, because it's all just coming via one man.
I don't know. Right, there should be conduits in the club, but I think if you want to be anti-establishment, as Green Brigade are, then you don't really want to be cosy. You just want to have a bit of a connector into the club, so if we got this on or that on. But I don't think it should necessarily be, pally.
You don't want to be cozy. Yeah. But you don't want to be ice cold in a moment where
it needs to come closer
towards ice cold. Anyway, we'll kick on. So an interesting day all round, no doubt. Flag Day, game 1 of 38 games, back on top of the pile. Not really much time to touch on Rangers, but they were all over the shop, and Russell Martin agrees with that.
I only got to see the 90 minutes of it. It was wonderful. Wonderful.
I only seen the last 92 minutes of that game.
The best bit was his interview. Absolutely brilliant.
I'm going to put it on record. If he got time, he would be a threat to us. I don't think he'll get time.
He won't get time.
I say they'll be out by December.
Somebody I know was on follow at the weekend, and he's not getting time. No. Anyway, who that person was, we'll never know. We've got a question in, a listener question from Anders, who is a friend of the show. Anders is Anders Meltek. He's actually all the way from Norway. He first got onto Celtic when we played Bodo Glimt in Ange's first season. That was Conference League, wasn't it, Paddy? Yeah. And he came over for the game in February 2022. Since then, he's fallen in love with Celtic, and he's been at several games over the years, and it's great to see. He keeps in touch with us, and he's actually a member over on the Patreon. So he's got
tavern drinker as well.
He drinks in the Railway Tavern in Motherwell, so he's ticking all the boxes. He knows Scandinavian football well, given where he's from, and he's got a question for us about Benjamin Nygren. So I'm just going to try and play it here. Hopefully you guys can hear that, and we'll see what you think.
Hey guys, I have a question about Nygren and his position at the moment. Is really central midfield the best position for him? When he played his best football on the wing for Nordsjælland. Most of the time he was at left wing, and he can't play there now because of Maeda, of course. But really central midfield position, and I think we have decent options at the central position already. And I'm a fan of Young, but I don't think Young should be favoured in front of Nygren at the right wing position. What are your guys' thoughts about it?
So Anders clearly knows ball, fan of Yang, first of all. But he makes the point, he's obviously seen more than we have of Benjamin Nygren playing for Nordsjælland in Denmark, one of those places. And he feels he's absolutely a left winger. That's where he's had most of his success in his young career so far. But from what we've seen, from a Celtic point of view, he's only ever featured as a midfielder. And that was the case on Saturday. He takes Arne Engel's position. So what do you think? Do you think there's a potential we'll see him out wing, or is that not where Rodgers?
I don't think Rodgers sees him there. Solely because of our wingers are normally fast, dynamic, get to the byline and cut it back. I don't think he's got the legs to do that.
He doesn't. He's not got that kind of pace that certainly a Maeda or even a Nicholson or even a James Forrest. He doesn't seem that kind of player.
I think
it's sorry, Paddy.
That's all right. I think he can unlock defences from playing that Matt O'Reilly role. But he needs time to settle in as well. He needs to get time to really get familiar how we play and the tempo in which we play at.
Yeah, I was just going to say no big concern, but he was okay at the weekend, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's just a settler in. I think I've seen enough from him before he signed for Celtic, and from Reels and stuff, and then from pre-season to say he'll be effective. The issue there is formation. I don't think he's a winger in a 4-3-3, but he probably could be in a 3-5-2 or even 4-4-2. But he's coming in from a fairly deep lying position on the wing. Where he's been coming in is at angles to the 18-yard box and to real effect, but he's not on the byline.
He's not going to hit the byline.
No,
he's just not that.
So it doesn't suit certainly our current formation. So maybe did a wee bit of square peg round hole, but I've seen him a lot in 10 positions for his former team as well. So I think it's just the formation that's dictated that week.
Yeah, I wonder if the footage of him at Nordsjælland would show him playing wide within a different setup and maybe that worked there. So I guess we won't know, but there's no doubt the wings are an area of concern. Yang got the nod on Sunday. Daiz Maeda, I've asked the question, is he a guy who's had his head turned? He's asked if it was similar to the Nicholas Kuhn situation where...
No. He's more integrity than that, I'd say. But it could be one of those where...
There's your integrity.
No, it doesn't mean he's not going, but I don't think he's the kind of guy... I think if he's going to go, he'll go, and that's it. But he wouldn't be down in tools. He would go and see if I didn't approach him.
Not down in tools, but it can affect players, whether they like it or not, or subconsciously. And there's that whole not trying to get injured thing. I'm not saying that's what Daiz Maeda was doing, by the way, but just subconsciously a number of things can go against you.
Caring about in 88 minutes.
It's all he knows. It's all he knows.
I actually thought...
Threw on goal, flew it.
Again?
He's been doing that for years.
Again. And listen,
what's new?
If he was sticking all in him away, he'd be gone.
True.
He would 100% be gone. But no, I actually don't think it was too bad a performance. And I actually thought
it was pretty average.
Okay.
I wonder.
Call the show, that's it.
You're wrong. You're right.
Okay.
He had such a high point of a year last year, but in years prior to that, we've seen a bit of inconsistency, not in his pressing and various things like that, but in his general strike play. And I think maybe just some of that crept back in on Sunday. But first game, get it back under. Different players around and stuff.
I think it was very clever tactical play from St Mirren yesterday. I actually thought that they allowed Tierney and Maeda to have more of the ball and actually put more pressure on them. And the two of them are, for me, the quickest to tire. I thought that Tierney looked knackered come the end of the first half, which understandably so. Yeah. But when Tierney gets tired, then the next step is who's going to provide the ball to Maeda, and it wasn't coming from many. I thought Hatate then started to come out the game a little bit as well.
We did have a wee laugh, me and Bridle, about Liam Scales trying the step overs out in the left wing.
Brilliant.
Did you catch it? It was
a full show.
It was something. But to be fair to Liam Scales, he shouldn't find himself in that position. Not. He's been placed there by the manager or by the powers that be. Anyway, we'll kick on. As mentioned, though, there's a full post-match reaction show with myself and Bridle available right now on our Patreon page, where you'll catch pre- and post-match shows for every Celtic game, as well as a host of other benefits and features. Check it all out at patreon.com/Celtic Exchange. We've also included a link in the show notes if you want to check that out. Paddy, you'll have seen or heard the news today, certainly, that the draw has paired us with either Slovan Bratislava from Slovakia or Kairat Almaty, I think it is, from Kazakhstan in the Champions League playoff round. I don't know much about the Kazakhstanis, so let's start with Slovan Bratislava.
Almaty.
Almaty?
Yes.
You say Almaty, I say
Almaty.
Yeah. What do you think? I don't know. Actually, I was just checking the odds. So the bookies, they play tomorrow night, Tuesday night, and the first leg, it's in Kazakhstan, and Almaty are currently favourites for that. Maybe the travelling. It's 3,500 miles from here to there. It'll be similar-ish, I suppose, from Bratislava. But what do you think? If you get a kind of gut feeling who you'd want? Obviously, we beat Slovan Bratislava 5-1 last time out.
Slovan Bratislava, definitely. I think if you remember right, when we played Astana over in Astana, it was a very difficult game for us, and we put ourselves under a bit of pressure that night too. And if you put into the other side of that 4 days later we go to Ibrox as well, I would like the closer to home for this tie, please.
They're well into their season, like 27, 28 games or something.
It's a difficult
Almaty.
play.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about the Kazakhstan league. I did check Bratislava, they're 2 games in to their programme.
I'm pretty sure there was a Scottish, I can't remember the name, but there's definitely a Scottish player that's played by Almaty, and I think Bowman rings a bell. I remember
Dave Bowman?
I think so, guys. I think so. I want to check this one.
That would be obscure.
I'm pretty sure. That's my Football Manager days coming back. But
let's just put out there as fact.
Right, Dave Bowman. Dave Bowman will get the scoop on Almaty for Celtic.
So we've got the first leg will be 2 weeks from now. First leg at Celtic Park, the way the draw's gone. So Celtic will be at home either 19th or 20th of August. That's a Tuesday or a Wednesday. We've then got Livy at home on the Saturday 23rd, and we've got the option to postpone that fixture. Should we?
No. I think we need games. I actually do. Watching it yesterday, I don't think we were up to pace at all. Also, you leave it too late for fans that have already made plans.
Yeah, there's a couple of things at play. Before the first leg, of course, James, we've got Aberdeen at Pittodrie next Sunday, 12:30 kick-off. We've got Falkirk in the Cup in the midweek, is it? Or is it the weekend?
Friday night.
The Friday night football.
Mm-hmm.
The Livy game, there's a few folks concerned as they thought it was an away fixture on the plastic pitch, new as it may be, but it's at home, it's at Celtic Park, and for getting guys up to speed, including potential new signings, if there's any of them on the go.
Don't worry about that.
I don't know. Let's scrap that. But we should probably be just ticking along there. Otherwise, you're just giving yourself a headache further down the line, aren't you?
Yeah. I think if it's Bratislava, definitely not. I think it's Almaty, then it's worth considering, just in terms of
recovery
and time out and stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, like 10 minutes after the final whistle, they'll have the players back on the plane.
Fire up the jet, Dermot. Dermot will have them out there in style.
With no hotels and like that. So, but you know, that kind of the pressure and whatever kind of the pressure and stuff like that can affect players. So I think if there's long flying, maybe. If it's Bratislava, absolutely not. But I take Paddy's point and I agree with it that this team needs games. You know, you can see there's just that rustiness and a dropping of links of players who are playing together who aren't now. So you get a new guy behind you or a new guy in front of you, whatever it may be. And that just takes time to kind of move out. So I'd rather have the games. I'd rather have Bratislava full stop. Nice city to visit. But just the games as well, you know?
Yeah, you've got that new triumvirate, let's use that word, of Tierney, Hatate and Maeda, left-hand side. And then the right-hand side, you've now got Johnson and at the moment Negren and whoever, Yang, Forrest, Tillio, anybody. So there's a few disconnects. There's that word again. You've also got that situation though where last pre-season we hit the ground running, we're beating Man City and Chelsea and just generally playing really well, and we smashed right into the new campaign. Did we win our first game 4-0 last season? Was it Ross County or Kilmarnock?
Ross County.
Anyway, we were good to go from the pre-season and we ran that right into the new season. Listen, great to get the 3 points. Most important thing, get the 3 points there against St Mirren, but you couldn't accuse us of doing the same this time around. You
couldn't, and I think that I was talking about the little bit of a worry with the team the other night, and we were speaking about I've still say I don't see the threat in them yet. Listen, they could still sign players with the remainder of this window.
They've signed 2 more players recently. Mickey Moore from Spurs 17-year-old, hugely highly rated frontman, and the Go Ahead Eagles winger
Antman.
Oliver Antman.
Aye.
By all accounts, highly rated again. We'll never know, but I don't like referring too much to look what they're doing on the other side of the river, but it seems they are doing business, which seems to be smart business, while we seemingly do nothing.
My thinking is that I've said to the boys, I feel that we've got enough about us domestically, but when European football comes in, that's when we start to tire, and that's when we really start to come up against it. As I've said, the amount of games that we were falling off after 70 minutes last season. we Stevie made the point, we've got Aberdeen away and Rangers away this month, and that's big games.
Aberdeen and Rangers away in a huge qualifier.
Yeah.
It's such an important month, and it could set the tone for the season ahead. That's not too dramatic to say so.
Stuart Duff, not Dave Bowman.
Oh, well remembered.
Oh, I can see why you'd confuse the two.
Aye, very, very similar looking boys.
All right. Last question. It's one of your favourites, James. It's a hypothetical, but if you could add a player in one key position ahead of the qualifier is so important. I mentioned that a £40 million jackpot that we won't spend anyway. But if you can add in one key position, where is it for you?
Striker. All day. Striker. Ida. I don't think it's going to happen. Take money, rotate it, new striker.
Okay.
Right winger.
Yeah, I'm not cutting it for you.
No. And actually, I think it's unfair in James Forrest. He's not going to last 90 minutes at that level. No.
And I'm certainly in the front area of the park as well. I think striker too. And obviously, there's a number of guys. Callum Osmond doesn't look like he'll feature in the first team. Maybe he goes out on loan. I don't know about Yamada. I was excited that
I thought we
I mentioned I bet him to score last yesterday. Thought he'd be on the bench. I thought he'd come on, have an impact, and he'd score last. That's not happened at all. And who knows whether Rodgers is making a statement or just doesn't like what he's seen so far, maybe feels he's not ready. But at the end of the day, there's a reason why strikers are the most expensive players in football. They score the goals that win you the games, that win you trophies, progress you in Europe. And I would argue, and I do like Adam Ida a lot, and I think he gets a hard press from a lot of folks, but you need a guy who's going to be, you can hang your hat on. And Kyogo was that guy.
Yeah.
And Puanata, Odson-Edward was that guy, and Moussa Dembele was that guy, and Gary Hooper was that guy. I don't think we've got a guy like that at the club at the moment.
Goals solve everything. There's problems all over the place. Get the goals while we're fixing everything else, and we'll buy ourselves some time. I think Kyogo scores 3 on Sunday there.
Aye.
Yeah.
The chances were there.
At once.
There was a couple dropping between 18 and 6 yard lines. He'd have been all over them.
I think he does unlucky with the one off the post.
I thought he did everything. I mean, Sutton was getting in 2-footed on him there. I thought he did everything right. He was saying he should have went first time. He did defender either side of him. I thought his chest was fantastic to get him past those two guys. Did narrow the angle. That is centimetres away. That's very harsh, and that's me saying to somebody I don't think he's going to make it, you know.
Point blank header at the first half though as well.
Yeah.
And then
he got under the header, didn't he?
And then another one, the keeper puts it up onto the crossbar. I think he should have buried that too.
Okay. A short break on this week's Celtic Exchange to let us tell you about our new sponsor, NordVPN, and this is one that's definitely worth knowing about. If you've ever tried to watch a game or stream any football content that's blocked in your area, whether it's coverage from another country or something stuck behind one of those annoying geo-restrictions, then NordVPN sorts that right out. Just change your virtual location with one click and you're in. It's perfect for catching games while travelling or for accessing match replays, highlights or analysis you wouldn't normally get here in the UK. Basically, it gives you the full global football experience no matter where in the world you are. In addition, you can also enjoy your favourite streaming services while you're on your travels without experiencing any of the restrictions that would normally apply. And on top of all that, it also keeps everything you do online private and secure, whether you're at home or using public Wi-Fi. NordVPN's encryption keeps your data locked down. No tracking, no messing about, just peace of mind while you're scrolling, streaming or pretending to work while watching the game. And the best part, our listeners can now get 4 extra months of NordVPN plus a huge discount if opting for the 2-year plan with our exclusive offer. So check it all out at nordvpn.com/exchange. That's nordvpn.com/exchange, and the discount will be applied there automatically. Online freedom and full football access, we'll take that all day long. Let's move on. This next section is entitled A Question of Ambition, and it relates to Brendan Rodgers and the fairly strong comments he made on Friday in the pre-match press conference. I'll read one of his more important or more telling quotes out and let me know what you lads think about it. He said, "There's conditions we want to be able to improve on and be better in, because I'm not the type of manager that's good at maintaining anything. If it's something, or if it's just something to maintain, I'm not the manager for Celtic. It'll be someone else. But to build and grow and develop and push, then of course, I love being at Celtic. So when that time comes, when the club offer me a deal or not, then it doesn't make a difference to me, because every single day of my life, I'll give everything here to the very last day." It's pretty strong words, Paddy, and I think it is worrying. I really do, because I'm sure he's been speaking similar words behind the scenes to Michael Nicholson and the powers that be in the last few weeks, and they've fallen on deaf ears to the point where he now feels he has to come out and say that and put those words out in public. What's your take?
It's done. It's done.
Bernardo?
Yeah, I think so. I think we'll get this season and that'll be it. I do. Right. I think he's too stubborn to leave, and Celtic won't sack him. I just think it will just sit and just fade away. come the end of the season.
It'll just run its course
Yep.
and they'll move on.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm not sure about that
No,
and from my side, but what do you think?
No, I think that if it was a fait accompli and it wasn't going to happen, then he wouldn't have said those things. I think he's basically, firing that shot and saying, "Do it." I mean, there's basically a contingent on the board that if they behave themselves and have show any ambition, Rodgers will sign an extension. That's essentially what he's saying there.
Yeah.
We've got a potential extension in the offing, but they need to show ambition. I'm not here to maintain it. I thought that was spot on, and it matches every single fan that we know.
Yeah.
Because what you're saying is, maintenance isn't ambition. It's progress. It's developing players. It's everything that fans want. And pretending, and there's some friends of ours, or one friend of ours, Noel McGrath, is like, we've won all these trophies in so many years. Don't get me wrong, I've enjoyed every single one, but we've shown a complete lack of ambition in Europe.
Yeah.
And Rodgers is saying, I've taken you this far, I can take you higher, you need to back me. And the board need to do it.
Yeah, and it's one thing for the last, 4, 5, 6 weeks, fans guessing that this is what's going on behind the scenes. The manager's now come out and confirmed it. He's closer to this than anybody on the planet. He is right there in the driving seat. He's seen the way the club are behaving and he's come out with those comments. And you're right, James, to quote again, he wants to build and grow and develop. And by using those words and the chat that Brendan Rodgers studied neurolinguistics, he knows what he's saying.
He's picked every single word.
An intelligent character, build, grow and develop. And, by saying those words, he's telling us that the club aren't doing that at this moment in time. That is unacceptable.
It makes it easier then to put that in his book when he's retired, and he can say, this is what I tried at Celtic and I never got it, hence why I said it. I just think he's setting himself up for when he leaves, and then he can play his card of, this is what I wanted and I never got it.
Right. Well, my point's going to be, see if that is the case, right? And there's been, muddiness around these things and with managers in the past, including Rodgers' first time around, which we now see a different light on. But if it's as clear and obvious as what Celtic are doing, and it's naked now, Rodgers has put it on the table, right? What's the point of this? What are Celtic? Are they telling us that we shouldn't buy European tickets anymore because there's no point? We're not going to try, we're not going to invest, we're not going to develop.
They've done that in January. They've done it with Kyogo. They never replaced Kyogo.
But that's like, maybe, and did they try it on? This is nakedly what's happening. So what is the point? Celtic need to get their stall in order and decide what kind of club they want to be. Do they want to be a Porto, a Bruges, an Ajax and develop at that tier of European football, or just be slightly better than Rangers? Because I'm not staying for that.
Yeah, I was listening to various radio shows over the weekend, Scottish football radio shows, and people were saying, the powers that be won't be happy with that. Well, they've got no right to be annoyed about it, because if what he's saying is true, and listen, he can't come out and make such a statement like that, just made up. So take it as read that what he's saying is the truth. Miff would maybe question that. The board cannot be annoyed. If he's saying we need to be ambitious and they're saying we're not really going to be ambitious, but we're annoyed at you for saying that, they've got no leg to stand on if that's the stance that they're currently taking.
Yeah, it feels like Groundhog Day, but as I've said, I just think that there's a lot where you're expecting them to say, right, we get it, let's push on, let's all club together. And I know that they spent money last year, and there's a few suggesting that the board don't trust Rodgers with the money that they've spent. I can understand an argument towards that, but there's also just that lack of ambition, the fact that if you are not going to back this manager, and if you're not going to renew his contract, then kill it. Just kill it. But they don't want to give him the satisfaction of even a payout.
What kind of manager can you attract after that?
But I also don't feel you're talking about this and creating a potential situation where the board and the manager don't like each other and they don't want him to succeed and they don't want to back him. I don't believe that to be the case, but the way they're behaving is puzzling.
Do you think the Celtic board hires Brendan Rodgers back? If Rodgers is turning around and says, I'm your man, let me get it, do you think Peter Law will, Michael Nicholson say, yep, definitely? Or do you think Dermot Desmond says that? For me, it's the latter.
Every time.
Dermot Desmond has the ultimate say, but I'd like to think that Michael Nicholson
I think they've got a good relationship.
and Peter Lawwell would have been pleased at the return of Brendan Rodgers. But the way they're acting, you can understand why Brendan Rodgers at some point, and maybe Friday was that point, would say, hold on a minute, you're making a mug of me because it's my reputation that's on the line. I'm the guy who carries the success or failure on my CV, because we know how football clubs work. Managers and players come and go. CEOs and directors, particularly at Celtic, stay forever, regardless of the success. And to go back to Noel McGrath's point, of course there's been success, however many trophies since the turn of the century. But I don't think it is entitlement to expect more, or at least to show the ambition. Maybe we will, maybe we won't ever win the Champions League, but at least show the ambition to go and try and do something. We're nowhere near that.
No, but and the thing is as well, like we've got to kind of look at Celtic from, I would even say since O'Neill left, we seen Strachan work wonders, right? I know he gets a bit of a bad rep, Gordon Strachan. He worked wonders getting us to the last 16. Twice. Neil Lennon goes and does it again. 2013 was the last time we've achieved that. Are we going to get to a last 16 stage in Europe again? Because that for us was, wow, amazing. We're rubbing shoulders here. That's where the board, it's almost like they're, right, that's good. We've done it. Well done. We'll pull back a bit now.
You do feel based on what we've seen last season that it's in touching distance.
Aye.
You could get to the last 16.
If we get a draw as generous, I think
or
that,
you get players that are better.
But
we might get a tougher draw, but we might have better players to deal with that tougher draw. I just wonder if, again, the powers that be at Celtic might be sitting going, well, if you get to the last 32, you get X, and if you get to the last 16, you only get another 5 million, for example, or whatever it might be. I don't know what that figure is, but they might say, so should we buy a £12 million striker if we're only getting 5? Nah, that's just if we get to 32 and 16, great. And if we don't, we don't. That feels very much like where the ambition is. And there's no way Brendan Rodgers would accept that, because his ambition as a manager and the person cannot and is not that. He's got designs on far much more success than that.
No, and his ambition matches our ambition, so I don't see how the board think how it's going to shake out in any positive way in their favour, but they'll just hit the bunker and tell with the fans.
Hugh Evans, my pal, who I really like and some folks don't, he was quoted in the last couple of days as saying that this Celtic board operate in silence. You hear from them once a year at the AGM, and it's scripted and it's controlled and it's coordinated, and that's it. And I'll say this is, Michael Nicholson's a guy I'm fond of. I know him reasonably well, from my time at Celtic. He's a good guy and he's hugely passionate about Celtic. But I do wish that he or Chris Mackay or others who are involved in making these calls would come out and you can make it a controlled message, come out on Celtic TV, come out somewhere and at least give us a bit of the vision. You don't need to show your inner workings and what's under the bonnet and how you negotiate, how you do things.
Vision. That's the problem.
Well, I think we do, but I think
you think Celtic as a club have a vision for, say, the next 3, 5, 10 years?
I really do, but I think they keep it
all
close to their chest, because if you put it out there and you fail, you then get...
But that's fine.
What's wrong with failure?
Because then you can hold people accountable.
You're asking the wrong man. I think failure's okay. But I think you need to come out and say
how a company works. That's how a company works.
At least you showed you were trying to stretch yourself.
Exactly.
And if you didn't get there, you maybe got just slightly under it, and we'll go again to get the next one. I don't think there's any vision. I think it's just keep it all ticking along, keep the mugs buying the season tickets. Yeah. Oh, they'll pay the money for that. We'll not buy the players. There's a contract in place, unwritten, of course. We buy the tickets, you buy the players. That's that. And they're not playing fair. They're not playing fair with the fans' money. There's
a couple of other quotes in the ballpark from Brendan Rodgers, paraphrasing this one slightly, but he says, clearly, I'm not convincing the club on new signings. And he kind of laughed at that point if you've watched the press conference from Friday. But
he gently meant it.
He's saying those words. Should he have to try that hard to convince the club that we need new players?
Should it be his job?
It's utter dysfunction that in any organisation. Imagine a normal company, right? And there's a CEO and there's a head of whatever kind of thing, and the head of whatever's trying to get a bit of investment for something, and the CEO is not listening to him. So he goes to the papers. I mean, how dysfunctional is that? I mean, when you put it in that context.
It is, it's stark, and it's worrying. Have you ever been the head of whatever in any of your companies?
My favourite position.
It's a cherished role. Just to finish, Brendan Rodgers also confirmed within the piece that as it stands, no contract has yet been put to him. Now, again, you can interpret these things in a number of ways. It might just be that they're all pretty relaxed about it, and you'd have to agree that the manager himself is very relaxed. He's not getting antsy or stressy. There's no furrowed brow. He's quite cool about the whole situation, and it might just be that he's confident that it's going to work itself out. But as it stands, Paddy, he again has confirmed in his own words, there's no contract offer.
I think he's aware that, as I said, I genuinely believe he's aware, and he'll know that, right, that's it. It's coming to the end of the season. I'm going to go out, giving myself the best PR possible, that if I want to move into a new role straight away, I can do it. He'll give the best account of himself, but I also think that he's clever. Brendan Rodgers is very clever. He will make them see what we're lacking, and I think there was elements of that yesterday. I really do.
Yeah.
Johnny Kenny coming on instead of Shin. Liam Scales getting moved out to left back. I think obviously your £11 million midfielder and Engels sitting on the bench and then coming on. I actually thought Engels done well when he came on yesterday. Crazy booking, but we'll come back to that, I'm sure. I just think there's lots of games that are being played, right? But what you also see in that team yesterday, if you don't inject a team with new players, and I know Tierney and Nygren started yesterday, there's almost a little bit of them that are just like, what's the point?
We need freshness.
What's the point? You
Yeah.
can see it in
Yeah.
CCV and Johnston only looked interested in the last 10 minutes for me yesterday.
Calmark and stuff.
trying.
They need to, from a player point of view, they want to be training with different players and seeing that the club are bringing an exciting
But they
talent.
also want to go last 16, last 32. They want to progress.
Of course they do. You know, players and fans are no different when it comes to that.
I'd say that where Rodgers is at basically is this. He's just about giving up with the board. They sold him a bit of a turkey when they went out to Marbella or whatever it was to the Villa, and this is the ambition and blah blah blah. And then they went, but we've actually given Mark Law a shanner of a brief to bring in 10 players for £20 million. I don't think Law executed it terribly well, but I think he was shafted by the brief he got. Right?
Yeah, okay.
Right. So then Rodgers wrestles back control of transfers and convinces the board that we need to show some ambition here. We go out and do that, probably for the first time ever. Now, in 2024-25, spending £9 and £11 million pound on a player doesn't guarantee you anything. That is normal to pay for.
Correct.
We've just never moved beyond that. And I just wonder now, is Rodgers at the end of that? I'll have one last go at convincing these clowns, and if it doesn't work out, well, he'll get a job anywhere, no bother, So
Yeah.
I think that's where he's at.
The other side is that he's got a home life situation where I believe they've settled in a nice big house, just outside of Glasgow, and very happy here, him and his family, and he really enjoys that way of life. I wonder, does he want to uproot again? I don't think he does, actually. I think Brendan Rodgers is generally quite content with his lot in life at this moment in time.
Do I go live in Como for 3 years?
Well, it's a different question, but I just don't think they match his ambition. That's the bottom line here. And if they did, then I don't think it would take a lot for him to go, perfect, we're on the same page again.
But he needs that buy-in.
Yeah, I don't think they're that far away.
No,
but the fact that there is a gap is the concern.
I think it could still happen. I really do. But it's going to have to take, and I don't mean about, climb downs or anything like that. It's just going to have to take a bit of scales falling from eyes. I don't mean Liam Scales. Scales from the board's eyes to go, right, we get it. If we spend this, which is only the money that we've actually brought in for players this summer, then we can get there, we can keep this manager, we can get everyone in a cohesive frame of mind and move forward together. Said it so many times. Why are we in different sides of the table when we all want the same thing?
That's what I'm saying.
Aye.
Instead of you be Brendan Rodgers, I'll be Michael Nicholson. Why don't the two of you sit on that side and go in the same direction? The last thing, Paddy, you'd mentioned about some of his decisions regarding personnel yesterday. Is that a shot to the board in terms of Liam Scales ending up at left back and Johnny Kenny being the striker? I've never really quite bought into any manager doing that. Ultimately, his job is to win games, and I don't think he would risk not winning a game by playing a lesser player. The other side of that is several commentators have said that, look at the bench. You had Brendan Rodgers, Arnie Engels signing, 11 million. You had Paulo Bernardo, what was he, 3.5, 4, 5, something like that, and Austin Trusty. So if he's making a point to the board, he's also not doing himself any favours by saying, you back me with all of these guys, but they're sitting behind me in the dugout. So I just think that's where his squad finds itself.
But then I think there's also the element as well, because as Celtic fans, and I think I would include myself, are very quick to judge some of these guys. I still think that Austin Trusty, I don't know if is the player for me.
I thought he'd done well when he came on.
Domestically, I think he'll be fine. Europe, I don't see it. Paulo Bernardo, I've got high hopes for him, but it needs to happen at some point soon for him. We look at last season as a whole. For me, albeit, we didn't win the treble. It was unfortunate against Aberdeen. Still a successful season. Progress in Europe, as we spoke about, getting to that last 32 was massive for the club. And I think coming so close against Bayern Munich would have given us high hopes that, we knock on and kick on for this season, but we've actually weakened. I just think there's an element of like you guys are saying, it's so close for everything just to go in the right direction, all departments moving in the right direction, and it just feels that someone is saying no, it just stops here at the moment, guys, because you have spent £11 million, you have spent £9 million, and we're not happy with what we're getting. But on paper, it's won 2 trophies. It's progressed in Europe, so it's working, is it not?
It's doing what we wanted to
Aye.
do. Hey, well, let's move on for now. But as it stands, the Brendan Rodgers and Celtic story continues for now. Let's see. We mentioned Tony Bloom at the top of the piece, and I think it is interesting what's going on there. So he's invested £10 million in Hearts. He's now a 29%, or he has a 29% stake in the club. He believes that Hearts can split the, Celtic and Rangers. Let's say duopoly. That's not right.
Monopoly.
It's a Celtic monopoly and Rangers are hanging about somewhere. But he believes he can split Celtic and Rangers at some point in the near future. He also said he expects Hearts to win at least one title within the next 10 years. And this is a guy he's obviously quite, bombastic, and there's a bit of bravado in how he operates. He's a professional gambler, known as the Lizard. Have you heard that, chap? That's his nickname in the game. So the Lizard, Tony Bloom. But he's been successful. He's the current chairman at Brighton, and they've had a pretty decent success story in recent times. He's a huge part of Union Saint-Gallois, who are now champions in Belgium.
Did they?
I think so. So they're at the top table. They're playing at high levels in European football. And I'm no lover of Heart of Midlothian, but I think it's quite refreshing to see this level of investment and ambition. And I would welcome any sort of challenge like that.
Definitely. I mean, I echo both your points. No fan of Hearts, but I think it's the best thing to happen to Scottish football, since the 80s, since Murray came in and started throwing money about,
Best thing since David Murray?
As in, that's what put us in this position. There's been no challenge from anyone else when Murray started putting his money about, his money, other people's money about. So, I think it's very refreshing. Is he looking to just, 10 million, he's not going to do anything, and that's just buying shares. So there's no money in the club. Is he just going to try and moneyball his way all to the top?
So I was listening to a few different pieces on it, and there's a lot of chat about he might, sounds counterintuitive, but he might actually spend less money, but spend it more effectively. So Hearts have got the algorithm. They've got the data and the algorithm that's been successful, but I do laugh that they've got all this technology and this algorithm, and it's spat out Derek McInnes at the end of it.
Aye.
But he knows the league.
There is that. He knows the city. There's a bit of chat on a safe pair of hands, and the last thing they would want is to appoint someone else like Neil Critchley, who they appointed last time out, have a poor start to the season, and then have to reappoint someone in October, for example. So they've got a steady pair of hands in Derek McInnes, and if they give him the right players to work with, and apparently they've signed a few decent players so far, then he will do a decent job. I think we know that. The evidence is there.
Going out tonight.
Yeah, so they play Aberdeen. Tynecastle, 8 o'clock, and that's going to be interesting in itself. But what do you think, Paddy? Do you think any club, Hearts, Aberdeen, Hibs, can go and shake it up a wee bit and at least provide more of a challenge than they have done previously?
I think it just comes down to the money that they're spending for players. I think it was interesting to hear that Hibs broke their transfer record this year with a £1 million signing, and that just shows you the gap, the financial gap between us and them. And I think it's it takes you to go and get a strong setup, a good management team, a good setup behind the manager, a good setup behind the coaching team to try and make a mount against what has been domination from us over the last 20 odd years. It's a big ask. Is the ambition there? Absolutely, of course it is. I don't think he would have done it regardless. Has it been successful with Brighton? Yeah, they've done really, really well. He wants to win stuff, I think. I think that's the next step for him. Whether it's a couple of trophies here or there, then does that merit success for him in the long term? I don't know.
I don't think so for a guy like that. He's not here for a League Cup.
But
No.
I would say that I just don't think that they've got the spending power the same way Celtic or even Rangers do at this point in time. I was listening to actually Chris Boyd and Charlie Adam talking about it. Charlie Adam thinks that
You need to listen to different things.
it came up on my feed, believe me.
Mastermind.
If Charlie Adam was trying to get the words together to say that they will do something,
Hearts.
Hearts, they will break the mould and maybe come in second or maybe even chase for first. Chris Boyd wasn't having it, so I don't take a lot for it too, but I'm of the same opinion. I don't think that they'll break it up, but it's nice just to see a refreshed Aberdeen, a refreshed Hibs, who are in great form now, by the way. They were very, very unlucky during the week.
Very Hibsy.
Very well.
I watched that.
But I think
It
they're
was-
away for it. They should not have been anywhere near that game.
It was
Midtjylland were a better team.
some goal to win the game.
Great finish. 2 great goals against them, actually.
And they beat Dundee 2-1 on opening day.
Aye,
Good
yeah, man.
start.
Bowie looks like a player, by the way.
He got both the goals.
Aye, he's looking sharp, him. But aye, it's refreshing to see those three teams and to include Dundee United in that as well in good shape.
I think I was just going to ask what you guys think, but my top four is Celtic, Hearts, Rangers, Hibs. I think that's what we can see this year. You've got, over time, if the Americans and the takeover and all that stuff invest wisely in Rangers, they have to improve. You know, you would think they would improve.
They've got numbers.
I think they're in a real season of transition, and the signs are there from Saturday night against Motherwell. It could be a ropey old season for Russell Martin if he stays in the job. And I think there's maybe enough disruption going on there and enough stability all of a sudden at Hearts to allow them to have a proper push at it. Just
Funny enough to use your word there, disruption. If Bloom's going to come in, I think it's always
the lizard. I want you to call him the lizard.
I'm not going to say that.
The lizard.
I think the thing that's always against these teams that is in Rangers' favour. The Rangers should always be able to be successful because the numbers, right? 48,000 fans every week, whatever it is. And Hearts, I don't know what Hearts old these days, 20?
18.
Yeah, so say about that. And have something similar. But Bloom will be looking at where does other money come from? He's a disruptor of business models and anything else, right? He'll be saying, who the hell signed that TV deal? What is going on there? Right, we need to start shaking that up. You've got to go. That's got to change. I think that's where we might see something really interesting from Bloom, is at the administration levels of Scottish football that has been lacking for so long.
Yeah.
That could be interesting. And the other genuine revenue stream that we're all familiar with is your player trade model. And I think when you've seen the likes of Aberdeen shifting Majowski for 6-7 million, was it? And a couple of other similar-ish moves. So, did Hibs get a few million for Josh Doig, for example?
I think so.
Things like that. I wonder if Bloom feels that they can bring players in through the algorithm to Hearts, get a good season or a season and a half or 2 seasons, and then shift them on for a few quid. So it's going to be an interesting one to watch. As we start to close out, I'll come to you first, Paddy. So as we covered the top of the piece, match day 1, Celtic back to it. Should be a time of real buzz, real excitement. The European draw has been made. Players should be flying in the door and players to get excited about. But there's a mix of all of that going on just now. How are you feeling? And what's your final thoughts?
I'm a little bit worried about it, to be honest. I think the next 2-3 weeks will really spell out what's going to happen for the remainder of the season for me. As I say, we've got that squad registration coming up, at the end of next week?
It's midnight on Thursday, a week on Thursday midnight, 14th Thursday. Of August.
Are we really pushing, depending on what the draw is going to be, are we really pushing to get a team ready that's going to comfortably qualify? Not just qualify, comfortably qualify, really make a statement and getting players in as soon as possible and getting them up to match speed with this squad. It just doesn't feel like that's there. If that changes, I'm obviously going to be really happy to see that. If we start signing players now, brilliant, great, but there's still a failure with this board this summer, in my opinion, that this is only happening at this point of the season and it's still not happened yet.
A lot of fans are looking at going, is this board going to sign the players before the deadline, or are they going to wait till we qualify and then do it? Option C is always on the table.
Mystery option C?
None of them.
And we don't qualify.
Just do nothing.
Aye.
James, before I come to you for your own final thoughts, Paddy, a wee shout out, some good news in the last few days, and I'll leave that up to you.
Yeah, shout out to my cousin Sean and his fiancée Natasha and the birth of their wee boy Miles. Congratulations, guys. A wholesome baby time for the full Cameron family just now. Sean's brother, only 3-4 weeks as well, had a wee boy, Sonny, as well. So, aye, grandparents are got their hands full now.
Great stuff, nice to hear. I actually bumped into Sean at the game yesterday, so congratulations to him and Natasha. James, final word goes to yourself.
Yeah, despite it all, I'm feeling quite positive.
You feeling excited? Yeah, I was talking about not being excited.
And I'm excited, of course, because football's back first and foremost. Yep. That's why we're, been doing this since we were all about 5 or 6 years old, so it's just, that's the main thing. And, we don't like having to moan about it, but, does it have any effect? I don't know. I don't think so.
Because we care. We're passionate.
It's because you care, right? So, but football's back, and then European football's around the corner, some challenges around, a couple of big games, Pittodrie away, then you've got Rangers away. That's going to be really interesting itself. So, yeah, I'm just looking forward to the month ahead.
Yeah, it's a massive month ahead, to be fair, in terms of the on-field stuff. Let's just hope it's matched by the off-field. So that's all for this latest episode of Celtic Exchange Weekly. But don't forget to join us on Patreon on Friday for the countdown to kick-off ahead of that trip to Pittodrie on Sunday. We'll then be back after the game on Sunday with the Final Whistle show. And you'll catch all of that and much more at patreon.com/Celtic Exchange. And thanks to all the listeners who have joined us in their numbers there. And don't forget to check that out. But in the meantime, thanks for joining us for this one. Have a brilliant week. We'll see you again really soon.